Hello.
Hey, Michael.
Good day, Michael.
Good morning / afternoon.
Hello.
Good morning.
Hey.
Morning.
Hello. Hey. Okay. So I think we can start. Let me share my screen here. I know Richard and Riemann are in a meeting, so I assume they won't join today. But as far as I know, we do not have anything to vote on. So I assume we are fine here. So welcome to the Hiero TSC meeting. Like every meeting we do at the Hiero project, this is a public meeting, which means everybody is invited to join this meeting, and as any other community meetings we have at Hiero. You can find all the information in our public calendar, which is linked on our webpage, in our GitHub repo, and so on, where you can easily, like the TSC meeting we are now in, click on a meeting, join the meeting by Zoom, and so on and so on. And if you miss a meeting, a lot of those meetings are recorded, or at least a minutes file has been generated by AI. And since all those meetings are public and happily a lot of people attend our days in those meetings, it's important to have some rules how to communicate and work together in those meetings, because we want you to interact with us, ask questions, discuss topics with us, and to do that always in a friendly manner. All our meetings happen under the code of conduct of the Linux Foundation, next to the antitrust policy of the Linux Foundation. So you are welcome to unmute yourself, ask questions, join a discussion, raise your hand in best case digitally here in Zoom, but always be friendly to each other, and then we can have an awesome meeting. Good. So this brings me to the agenda. As you can see, there is not that much on the agenda today. I would like to add a topic, which is the outcome of the Oktoberfest contributions and work we did. And let's have a look. Regarding the previous meeting, I've seen the meeting from last week. The minutes has not been approved and merged, but I assume that will be done within the next days. To be fair, I have not looked at it. I need to do it too. That brings us to the second topic, which are the HIPs. And if you have attended the last meeting, you will know that we're at a point where we have now several HIPs which are in the creation, but no HIP that need to be reviewed or voted on or by the TSC at this moment. So we are quite. Jessica?
Hey, I posted another one. If we can get it in the agenda, I posted it.
Yeah. I've already seen it. That was the next one, because we do not have anything big for HIPs, which will bring us to the more or less open agenda, which is any other business. And I'm seeing Joseph, you have your hand up.
Yeah, just a note on the hips.
Sure.
HIP 1313 is getting very close. So if anyone is interested, it would be good to start taking a look at that. We're hoping to bring that to TSC soon.
That is great. So let me directly share this link, because it's always great to have looked at the at the HIP before it's presented to the TSC, which makes it easier to ask questions and understand everything. So I just shared it here, and I'm quite happy to see that several of you just bring in any other topics. I'm seeing Jessica, who has a topic. I'm seeing Keith, who has a project proposal that should be added, and I'm seeing Michael Garber, who shared a link. Oh, that is that is using this Git vote tool for the HIPs to make it easier to vote on HIPs for the TSC, right?
Is it good to just merge in? Do we need more reviews or anything?
Okay. Your question, okay. So I'm not an HIP maintainer, but I think it's just Jessica, you are here, right? So maybe you can tell what you did here, so that Michael Garber and the maintainers of the Hiero improvement proposal repo understand that pull request. Would that be possible? Jessica? Okay, so maybe Jessica is just not available, but
Sorry, I went to answer.
okay, no problem. So the question was about the Git vote configuration you
Yeah.
added to the Hiero improvement proposals repo. So my assumption is this is about TSC being able to vote asynchronously on
Yes.
right?
Yeah, actually, it's allow several teams. So if you go in the very bottom, go to the bottom, and you're gonna see there like several. From bottom to up, you're gonna see several profiles of teams that can vote on it, and you can configure your own profile. Those are the ones that I have right now. But if you need anything else, it will be I can add it there. So I think in the last one is probably the one that you guys are needing, the one where the TSC team can vote, and it's a duration of 3 days and a pass threshold of 50%. But if you need anything else that is that allows more flexibility of these parameters, we can totally add it.
So I think that is fine. I think the problem here is that not all people know how to use it and for what is so the idea, Michael, is that with this file, with this configuration, we could now do a voting directly in a pull request. Let's assume this one HIP 1313. So we could now in a command start, once all that is set up, a voting saying, hey, this is a voting in this PR for the TSC, and the TSC should vote on it. And how a voting works is really by doing this thumbs up and thumbs down here. And it will then we check, is that a TSC member? So should I count it, and so on and so on, which makes it easy for us to do asynchronous votings on HIPs. If maybe in a meeting not all people are there, we have some additional questions that will be answered after the meeting, and to not wait another week to do the voting in the TSC meeting. This would allow us to do a voting between two meetings. So yes, I have not looked into everything, but having this 3 days, 50%, that makes sense, first of all, to me. Diane?
I just have a question about what triggers an asynchronous vote. Is it a motion in the TSC meeting that triggers an asynchronous vote? At what point? So I'm just trying to ensure that the HIP does get a proper review in public at the TSC meeting.
Oh,
and
sure.
that a
Yeah. So we do not want to change the process here. What we had was like 2 weeks ago, where we, for example, had this moment where Europe already has winter time, US not. Mostly all TSC members from Europe missed the meeting. I was happy that I did it. I did it last year. And we don't have quorum to vote on that meeting for a HIP that was presented some time ago, and the meeting a week before, there was still questions, so it was not able to vote then. Then on the next week, all questions have been solved, but not all people were there, so we were not able to vote, and then needed to move the vote into the next meeting, which is like 3 weeks after the HIP has been shown to the TSC in this meeting, was a point where we finally were able to vote. And with asynchronous votes, we would be able to have done it like, I don't know, like 10 days after the presentation. That is the idea here. So for sure, it should always be presented in the TSC in the best way. We do a voting here in the meeting 1 week afterwards. But if that is somehow problematic and we would like to move it, then we could do an asynchronous vote. That is the idea here.
All right. Thank you.
Sure.
Thank you.
Jessica or Michael.
Michael, go first.
No, I was just saying thank you.
Oh, I wanted to say that on the next Thursday community call, I can put in the agenda a walkthrough on how Git vote works.
That sounds good. I like it, and it's recorded. Then,
Yeah.
yeah, that is nice.
Okay.
I like it. Thanks for that. Yeah. Any other comments, questions on that, on asynchronous voting for HIPs? If not, and I think, Keith, that is your project request that you have, right?
Yes.
Okay. So can you give an introduction? Should I continue to share? Do you want to share something?
No, you can share. So, first of all, I should mention that this is a proposal for myself and also Diane. I think I forgot to include that in the proposal. So I think that we've been, obviously we have two identity projects in Hiero today. We have the JS did SDK and we have the Python did SDK. And I think we have more identity projects coming to Hiero, or at least we have more proposals coming to Hiero. But, the situation is, I don't think we want, we kind of face this in the Hashgraph repo, where we have lots of different repos that focus on identity, but they kind of get dispersed and they get hard to find. So one concept that we like, and maybe this is a model for other Hiero projects, is that we'd like to have one centralized project, which we're calling the Hiero Identity Workbench. And under that single repo, we would put in multiple different, we would bring in the existing repos, like the did SDK.js or the Python. And then other future contributions we could bring in as well. Now, maybe there is a concern about then if we can pull those things as dependencies, but maybe we could talk through that. But I think it's just the concept of, should we have like instead of having lots of different repos, can we have a single repo where it's a one-stop shop for users to go to kind of find a lot of different materials and projects that they'd be interested in, and then I guess the idea would be that they can kind of pick and choose what they want and build the identity project that they want. So this is more like a concept discussion that I wanted to open up. And so if I had to articulate an ultimate goal, it would be, so a one-stop shop where people can come, find the different identity projects within Hiero, and then go from there. I don't know, Diane, how would you frame it?
Well, in the past, I've created things. We've had. Well, let me back up a little bit. We have studios and things like that we offer up, but this is slightly different in that because of the variety of SDKs and the anticipation of more SDKs, giving people some very easy to find landing page for all of the resources, plus eventually some tools and maybe a UI to get started using all of this is kind of the idea we have. We've called them in the past playgrounds and things like that, but this is just a way to unify all of those pieces, because digital identity and privacy are becoming pretty big components of the strategy, not just of Hiero, but of the LFDT. So we wanted to try and create a central location. And I saw your hand go up, so I'll pause. Hendrik?
I have two questions for better understanding that. So if I see it correctly, it's at least in some parts quite similar to the Hiero SDK hub repository that we have for the base SDKs. Is that correct?
I
Yeah.
believe so.
Yeah, I think that's one way you can definitely think of it. Yeah.
Yeah. Then one suggestion would be, and I absolutely have no favorite, but try to have similar names, because we now have hub and here we have workbench. So maybe we can think about having consistency in this name. And the other question I have I understood it correctly that we want to move the Hiero did SDK JS and the Hiero did SDK Python, like the whole repositories, the libraries, into that repo?
you know, just as I started talking for this meeting, I just realized, I mean, that was the original intention, but then I realized, oh no, we can't do that because a lot of projects call in those repos as dependencies. So we can't have them as like subfolders in a repo. So I don't know. I think your suggestion is good. And just to be clear, this is the conversation we wanted to have. We wanted to explore this because we wanted to understand it. I mean, I think maybe it's more like what you suggested, Henrik. Maybe it's more like the SDK collaboration hub, where we have things like meeting agendas, we have maybe design proposals, but I do think that we would have some project codes in there that's maybe not that are not things that are pulled in as dependencies. Um, but uh, but you know, just like the SDK collaboration hub, that's a repo where it has like a lot of stuff, but then the actual SDKs are still separate repos.
Yeah.
So maybe that would be the same model where some repos we would keep separate, like the JavaScript did SDK, because again, we had to keep it separate because it's a dependency in other projects. But you know, so the identity collaboration hub, I don't know what you think of that name, Diane, but I do appreciate your suggestion, Hendrik. I love consistency. Um, yeah, it would be an idea where we have documentation. We would have the readmes. We would have some code. We would have maybe discussions, things like that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I have no problem with the word hub, and we could lower Workbench to be one of the tooling things that we create under this project. So, similar to playgrounds and other things like that, I'd really like to get some code in there that gets people started quickly, and sort of a test bed. So, yeah, hub is fine with me. Hiero Identity Hub, or Collaboration Hub if we want consistency all the way through, but hub is fine too.
Well, and I think the other thing that and I know that Richard's not here, but we've had this discussion many times, but I'll bring this up again. I think we know that there's some proposals coming of people that want to contribute code to the to Hiero. But this gets us back into this discussion of like these are definitely valid, valuable code contributions, but this code does not have active communities around it. So it's that thing where we want to keep the code alive. We do think it's valuable for the community. We cannot promise everyone in the TSC that there's going to be like a super active developer community around it. But I think there might be periodic contributions, but it's not going to be super big projects. So I think we had been waiting for the playground to develop, but I don't know if that's going to still happen. So this would be a place as well where for for identity projects that people want to contribute that have value to the community, it can be a resting place for them. But yes, it may be they're not the most active things in the world.
Yeah, makes sense to me. So, as said, I think having the did SDKs in it, I would see that problematically, but everything else sounds reasonable, first of all, yeah. I mean, we do the same in the hub, right? In the SDK hub. In the SDK hub, we're currently creating a prototype. Oh no, we're prototyping about future SDK possibilities, and we have code in subfolders of the SDK hub, to not create for all that a new repo. So we put it there. Yeah.
Does anyone else have any thoughts about this? I know Alexander's on from DSR, who's been working with us on a lot of the did stuff, but any of the other folks?
Michael.
Yeah, I think it's a great idea. I like the idea of having a workbench. I think it's kind of similar to like the studios that we have at Hedera, right? Just bringing everything into one place and focusing on that developer experience. I know there's been a lot of work recently on the Hedera documentation, which is really, really great on bringing people into the ecosystem. And I think this is another kind of initiative that helps do that, right? You ship something like a workbench with a clear like CLI interface or front end website where they could just get their hands dirty and start immediately. I think a large focus of this stuff, having talked to enterprises in identity and open source infrastructure, is just the identity space is very, very confusing. There's so many different identity providers out there. enterprises would like to do things like verifiable credentials and issuing identities inside of their use cases, but they don't know where to start. And I think this is maybe the spiciest part of my take, is also painting a picture of why Hedera or why Hiero and why this might be the right solution that they're looking for. Because I think that's what a lot of people from the business side are just looking to kind of like check off as they're picking the open source ecosystem that they're going to interact with.
Any other
Thank-
thoughts, comments?
Hello, everyone. Yeah, maybe just from me, talking about how we can show other people and other communities that it's easy and great to use a decentralized identity on Hiero. So we also have integration plugins for Open World Foundation projects. And these are separate. Obviously, they live in separate repository in another GitHub organization even. But in such hub or workbench, we can basically provide some setup guides and reference implementation for such integration. Maybe just getting started guide with ready-to-use Docker file for Akapi that will use Hedera DID or something like this.
Yeah, and the one other thing I would say is we do have a Hiero Identity community meeting. I think it's meeting this week on Thursday. It's in the calendar, but I think that's also where we'll get some of the ideas about what's going on, what will go under this the hub here. So
So basically, what I'm hearing, I should adjust my proposal. So we're going to change it to say that we're going to call this the identity hub or identity collaboration hub. And then under the identity collaboration hub, we can have the identity workbench. And then, so maybe with that in mind, maybe I can kind of withdraw this proposal and kind of rewrite it a little bit based around that concept. And then I think we need a vote on this, right, Hendrik?
Excuse me?
We would need a vote on this, I think.
Yes, we need a vote, but I think today we do not have quorum
Right, no,
at
no,
all.
I-
It would be
I-
good to update it or recreate it based on this discussion. Yeah, for next week. That would be
Yeah.
great.
That's exactly what I was going to say. So I'll rewrite it, and then maybe we can talk about it again next week, and then go from there. Yeah, and thank you, Diane. Yeah, so we have we have actually two community meetings coming up this week. One is the identity community meeting on Thursday, but right after that we have what we're calling although we're gonna in our first meeting we're gonna talk about this. We're calling it the data output meeting. This is a meeting that we're kicking off to talk about all things mirror node and also block nodes. I mean, block nodes is more of a to coming thing, but so so far we've put a placeholder name on that community group as the data output community group. Although we're happy to take suggestions. So, but yeah, both of those meetings are coming up. They're on the LFDT calendar. They're coming up on Thursday at 9 a.m. Pacific.
Cool. Any other questions, comments on the Hiero Identity Collaboration Hub or upcoming meetings, community meetings? Okay, let me check. Is there anything in the chat?
Oh, I did wanted to say something if you allow me.
Always.
Thank you. So for community meetings, we now have a directory. If you go to the governance repo, we have now a location there. If you look at project meetings, right now you're going to see only the marketing community engagement meeting resources, but this is a space where other people can put their agendas, and it could be a good thing for the identity community team to do as well. So this is the proposed kind of content that we are expecting to put in this location.
Yeah. And I got already people who asked me about that, like the SDK team who doing now minutes asked me when this will be available to move it here. And I
Yeah.
mean, TSC we can then move here. So that is great to have this place, oh no, this place then for all the different meetings. Keith.
Can we go back to that for a second? So would how is this going to work for a different community meeting? How would okay, I mean, I don't think I have write privileges for the governance repo. So I have 2 meetings coming up on Thursday, one for identity, one for data output. So how would I add my agendas in this structure?
So you will add a folder per community meeting. So for example, which ones are they? Are they the identity community and which other?
Data output?
And the data output. Do we have a community call for that one?
Well, currently it's called the mirror node, but it's currently it's called the mirror node community.
Okay, so yeah, you will put the 2 directories here, the mirror node community call and the identity community call directories here. And in each one of them, you can put the agenda. And I'm gonna double check the, how do you call it? The code owners file to allow more people to be able to contribute to this particular space. So right now, can we open it very quick? Okay, so we probably need to add here a particular a specific for other people to also be able to maintain that particular directory.
Yeah, but as you can see here, Keys, we can for files or for directories define that groups will have code owner rights for that. And I assume maybe Roger can say more about it. We will give all maintainer and committer groups of the repos basic access to the governance repo. And then here in this file for the, what is it like, for the project meetings marketing community, or let's don't say marketing because that is already special. Let's say like if we have a mirror node community engagement meeting here, we would give for that folder access to mirror node maintainers and mirror node committers. That is what I assume, but I see Andrew has hands up and I think he can explain it 1,000 times better than I can.
No, you did a pretty good job, Hendrik. The code owners is who needs to review and approve pull requests. So anybody has write access. I shouldn't say anybody has write access to the repo. Rather, individuals can open a pull request anywhere they would like to inside of the repository. So you can go in if you really wanted to and change where all the folders are located, add a bunch of new files. But the code owners is what defines who are mandatory reviewers before a pull request merges into the main line. So I think it makes a lot of sense if we want to talk about expanding the ability for folks to be able to merge things, to talk about giving certain folders more access or adding additional code owners to those folders. But I don't know that it necessarily makes sense to try and add like all of the maintainers to the whole repo. Does that make sense?
I agree with that as well. Having project specific areas and directories like you were suggesting there, Hendrik, with the mirror node team having its own spot, that makes a lot of sense. And then obviously, yeah, that should be maintained by the mirror node maintainers. But yeah, like Andrew is saying, anyone who has write access to the repository can already do everything they need. It's just when they create that pull request, it designates the code owners as automatic reviewers. And then you can obviously include others, but code owners must review the part that they have code ownership of.
I believe you could do what I'm just doing even without access, because I think it would even then create a fork. But what I'm just did here with an example for mirror node community meetings, this is really how I set up the TSC meetings minutes file, right? So I have not checked out the repository at all. I really do it with like a new file here in the GitHub UI and now I could create a new branch and it automatically creates a pull request. And we can delete it in a second. Now I have created the pull request, adding this new agenda file. And with code ownership, it would then directly add the right people as reviewers, which means people from the mirror node space. And let me now close this pull request because this don't make sense at all. But this is how it could be created then. Does that answers your question, Keith?
Yes, although I would like to do it in a different way. The way that I would prefer is that yes, let's just using mirror node as an example. There's a folder for the mirror node agenda, and then there's like a README in that folder, and then like every time I want to add and month to month, every time I want to add a new agenda, I just edit that file. Okay, okay, you obviously have to do a PR, but like I edit the file, I add my upcoming new agenda, and then I just do a PR on that, and then I myself can approve my own PR. Because the thing I don't want is like a bureaucratic process to add agendas where I need somebody else to approve my PR because that's just a nightmare. I mean, doesn't need that process.
Yeah, but that breaks every best practice. So normally on PRs, you need to have at least one other person review. And I think that we should keep that standard.
We can't have a world. I mean, this is too high overhead just for updating agendas. Having to like corral somebody else to approve my PR.
That is why a lot of people do it outside of GitHub. I understand what you see or say, Keith, but in general you need a review, right? I mean, if you the reviewer of what you're doing, then in general you don't need a pull request. But it's a general problem that we have here at Hiero with those agenda files. I totally agree on that it's not a for an agenda the thing we want. I don't have a good technical solution for that. Yeah. But I understand it and I see the problem you described, Keith. Absolutely.
So regarding the question in the chat of using wikis, so right now the one of the other problems is like not every community call it's associated to a repo. So would that mean that using wikis in the governance, is that what you were thinking? Because I think that is also a good solution.
Yeah.
That is another thing we could think about, yeah.
Yeah, you could put in a governance repo, or you could just make, I guess, doing a new GitHub project would be kind of annoying because then you have to go through the project proposal process to make a new repo. So maybe the governance repo is the right place for it. But yeah, I don't think that these have to be PRs for meeting agendas. I think that having the version tracking is way more useful for like decision matrices and workflows where you need that version history. But even if you use a discussion on GitHub, it's still version tracked. Same thing with wikis, it's more around that governance, right? You agree that this is the current state, but do you really need that for everything? I don't think so. I think, and also it's like there are a lot of cases where it maybe some best practices just don't fit for certain things. And this isn't a situation where we're trying to throw away best practices, but rather maybe we're trying to pigeonhole it in the wrong solution.
I agree that, to be quite honest, I agree that wikis could be a better solution, but I will let you guys decide which solution you want. And then if you want the wikis, then I can remove that section in the governance code and move it into the wiki section.
Question about wikis, because I know from a technical point of view, a wiki in GitHub is nothing else than markdown files in a Git repo. So with the project setup and right that we currently have, can that be edited without a pull request, or is that needing a pull request and reviews too? Do we know that it behaves differently than changing a markdown file in the repo? I don't know, Andrew, Roger, Jessica, somebody of you maybe know.
I'm not 100% sure, but I think it does allow for better flexibility. Because, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think you can add a maintainer team for editing wikis. No, you can add permissions for editing wikis, for a team to edit wikis. But yeah, I think it's definitely less restrictive than a PR.
Yeah. So it's oh, sorry.
Yeah, you don't need a pull request to edit a
Good.
wiki at
Yeah,
all.
that's good. Should we give it a try and just activate the wiki then and see if we can work with that? If that is like better in all ways. I see thumbs up from Keith. I think just giving it a try and see if it works would be a good thing to finally then decide if we want to go that way. My dog is just going crazy, sorry. Yeah, makes sense. So Roger, Andrew, Jessica, could you take maybe care of that so that we have a wiki like in the governance repo that we can check out if it works good?
Yeah, actually, I'm just doing that right now. And there's an option here, restrict editing to users in Teams with push access only. So if you go to the settings, search for wiki. It's below, yeah, there. Oh, I think somebody already did it. Or maybe it was me when I clicked it. So that is just, I just wanted to confirm that we don't want this, right? Or do we
No,
want
you
it?
do want that.
We do want this.
You do want that because that way it's people who have right access to the governance repo. So anyone who's a maintainer should have access to that. So people who are running the agendas should have access to edit the wikis. That should be sufficient.
But if I got it right, maybe I'm wrong. This would mean that we need to add the maintainers from all repos as maintainers to the government repo?
No,
Or
they just have to have right access, which they already do. Every maintainer group is in the governance repo because of the voting processes that we have.
okay, perfect. Yeah, okay, great, perfect, good.
But least privilege access is the right way to go. So we need to keep that checked.
Okay, then I will work on, I'm not going to remove the code just yet that I added in the governance. In the next meeting, I will have we can go through it or in the community call, we can go through it and we can decide whether we like this option better. But yeah, I will work on this today.
That sounds great. Thank you, Jessica. Any other thoughts on that topic? I think wikis is a thing we should try and see then where we end. Good. Any other topics? Otherwise, I can give a short overview about the outcome of the Hacktoberfest Good First Issue initiative that we had. Okay, so I created some slides for it because I had a look at the numbers. Oh, I'm just seeing Sophie would like to discuss training, but her audio is currently not so good. Does that mean you would like to move it to next week, or what do you prefer, Sophie? You can speak, okay?
Hi, Hendrik. Yes, it's
Hey.
I suppose it's similar to the Hacktoberfest. Maybe it builds on that. So I don't know whether you want to start with that, and then I'll.
Okay, yeah, because I think I'm quite fast. So let's start with my slide deck then, and then we can talk about trainings. So as said, I had a look at the outcome of the Hacktoberfest. And let's start with some really good news. So we solved, or no, not we, right? The community solved nearly to 100 issues, good first issues, over the October. I mean, now we have like 11th of November, so it's already 11 more days. But those are the issues that have been that are good first issues and that have been solved in October or the first week of November. And I think that is really a very high number. And I like that a lot. And next to that, we still have 7 issues where people did contributions, but the PR has not been merged. They are still in review. For the 92 ones, the PRs has already been merged, which comes to nearly 100 contributions we received over the Hacktoberfest. And I have a graph here. So I do not have a graph for the whole organization at GitHub. So what this graph is, that is, as an example, a graph showing the contributions in the Python SDK. And here you can see what kind of impact the Hacktoberfest really had at the end, with that many contributions happening in the October. And I'm seeing Sophie is just sharing it. We even have on the Hiero web page a blog post about the Hacktoberfest and about information. This is especially regarding the Python SDK, and it contains a lot of, yeah, that's what I wanted to say, a lot of good information. And the great one is that even this blog post has been created by a good first issue by a person coming from the community, which is so great. I just brought here 3 different people from the community who, 2 of them did their first contributions to Hiero in October, and then I have here one where you can see, oh, that already started earlier to do contributions. And there are several interesting things here. So one interesting thing is that, as you can see, it's not only one contribution, it's all of them did several contributions. And sure, we have a lot of people who did one contribution, but we have near to 10 people who really did several contributions and started to work on Hiero at Hacktoberfest. And if we take the second person here who did 7 commits to Hiero, that person is now joining our meeting. So that person worked on the Python SDK in the Hacktoberfest, but was on the, I think it was yesterday, on a community meeting for the Hiero webpage. So the persons really start to get interest in Hiero and not just doing one commit for Hacktoberfest to get a shirt and then leave. What we are seeing is that we have several people who come back and do contributions again. And I have some ideas why that happens and why the people not just do one contribution and leave. On the other hand, next to those really great ones, we have some good first issues, around 30, that have been there before the Hacktoberfest already, so before October, but no one cares about that. So the question is, what is the difference between those issues, right? And here again, I'm happy to have some people helping out on that topic. And I know that Sophie from the Python SDK, for example, really did some A/B testing to see like what kind of good first issues work good and what kind of good first issues are not so good, right? Let's have a look at a good first issue that works really good. this is an issue out of an Hiero project. And I highlighted some things here where we believe that they are really the key to success to get people work on those issues and even come back and work on like other issues in future. You can see we have like this clear sections here, description of the issue, solution. If you would scroll down, you would see there's even a checklist, what to do and things like that. Then you can see there's a lot of source code in those good first issues that shows example or even like suggested solutions. Like, hey, here you see, okay, this is the code how it looks today. And once you're done, afterwards, it should look like that, which helps the people already to, solve the issue. Because a good first issue is nothing where we say, oh, we don't care about the work, we want to outsource it because it's too easy for us or we don't care. A good first issue is there to get new contributors, to be welcome to the community, to show that we want to have them onboarded and work with us, and having those suggested solutions, those sections, examples, links to further reading, links to other issues, all that is what we learned helps a lot. And the funny thing, what we learned too, is the emojis helps a lot. So what we are doing is just having those emojis at the start of all those sections, right? And yeah, what Sophie writing, emojis make or break. So we created good first issues without the emojis, and people don't take them. They take the issues with the emojis. If you have like the same description in an issue, same good quality of the issue, and you have one with emojis, another one without emojis, so people will take those with emojis. So that is all the learnings we had. And if you see that as an example, and on the other hand, that as, not a good example on an issue that some people think it's a good first issue, I think it's clear where we need to move, right? And that is why we created that template for the good first issues. You can see parts of it here. If we just go to our governance channel and go to guidelines, good first issues, you will find the most updated template with, we've seen like good first issues, description and solution. And as you can see, there are even more sections like step-by-step guide to contribution, info about Hacktoberfest, additional information. And the more I've seen how people work, the more I believe this is how it should be done. Is it, should I finish, Roger, or do you want to jump in? Because I'm seeing your hands up.
I just wanted to make a quick comment on that good first issue. So you have an update inside of your description, inside of governance. I created a template at the .github repository that is for the good first issues. I'm planning to add a workflow that will sync that across all repositories in Hiero Ledger. But I think that if you're making updates to the template, it should be the one that's at the .github level.
Sure. Yeah,
instead of
that's
this one
totally
here.
fine. Yeah.
That's all.
We can even link to it and remove it then here, right? So if we move the template to somewhere else, what makes more sense for sure. I think in that case, we should move that. Let me go back to that. So I think that is where we need to go, right? So a question we should ask ourselves from my point of view is, how should we behave with those, like that good first issues? So like issues that don't have a good description, that are not based on the template and so on, because there are different ways how we as Hiero can handle that. We could, for example, say, look, it's for us better to have not that much good first issues, but those should be like perfectly described than to have 300 good first issues, but 50 of them are, like not that perfect. On the other hand, we have a group has been created without nomination or something like that, right? There was a group by, those are the people who really worked on it, which was like Sophie and Jessica and Roger and Andrew, where we tried to review good first issues, help people to move them forward. And what we did at the beginning and then decided to not do anymore is, like, if an issue from our point of view was not a good first issue, we move that label and try to get it better first regarding the template, regarding documentation, and so on, before the label has been added again. And I think that is something don't need to be decided today, but where we as a community need to decide how we want to work here, right? Do we want to say that's totally up to the maintainers of a sub-repo, or is it like, hey, we have that group, and that group can remove that good first issue label if they assume here some work is needed? Diane,
Could
can
I
I
just,
do like 2 more slides? It's just 2,
well,
and then
yeah, go ahead, go ahead.
okay. And as you've seen, when I go back, we had this person here where I said, oh, that person already started to did some contribution before. And that person during Hacktoberfest not only solved issues, but that person already started to create issues. And I did here like a screenshot out of the GitHub history of that person, and you can see, oh, here's Hiero, 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 Hiero. And we have some of those persons coming from the Hacktoberfest who really started to work on those projects. And that is why it's a success story from my point of view, because that person has become a committer now of the Python SDK repository based on his work on good first issues, and now he's already creating good first issues. So this is now another person creating good first issues based on our template and reviewing pull requests together with Sophie and the other people from the Python SDK like Nadine. And I think that is a real success, and what we want to achieve, or what was our goal with the Hacktoberfest. And with that, I think, yeah, it was a great success. Diane.
Yeah, so it was a great success. There's no doubt about it. And the reason why I was almost interrupting you on that slide where it showed who was reviewing the first good ones. If you go back to your slide deck
Sure.
there.
This one?
Yeah, pause there. What I was trying to tease out in the comment that I made is, do we have any data on who helped review these existing contributions, aka existing community members and maintainers that stepped up and reviewed and tested and coached these folks? And anecdotally, it sounds like it was primarily the Python SDK crew, and did a great job on it. But I also think when we do these hackathons, we should also, because we're trying to engage with the maintainers, and that is draw them in a little bit more. And I think you did an amazing job here. So this is not, but I think the next stage of this is, how do we replicate this, and how do we get the maintainers to engage and do this and maintain their own good first issues? As I think it was Roger in the list said, that we need to keep them engaged in this, and also being the ones that review these as well. But I think that's the other thing is, like, if we have, I mean, I'm a badge person, like Girl Scout and Boy Scout badges, but like, how do we make sure that they get recognized for doing this? Because I know what Sophie and Nadine and you did was, like, you just stepped up to the next level here. But I'd like to replicate this and make sure that when we're doing these reports back, that we also highlight that and try and show that progress on getting the other projects engaged. Because I should also say solo did, I think you had some in there for solo as well.
Yeah,
Because I'd like,
yeah.
so this,
Solo
I think it's
was
important.
Mirror Node, the website, Consensus Node. We had even, I think, we had 3 issues got solved at Consensus Node, like with PRs and all that. So it's not only to make that clear, it's not only the Python SDK. If you look at it from a bird's eye, the Python SDK at the most, for sure, but we had like Consensus Node did something, Mirror Node did something, the website. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so I think in the future, when we report on hackathons and good first issues updates, also highlighting which projects did actually engage and did actually get something out of it, like a new contribution or a new contributor, and step them up the contributor ladder, because I think that helps show the other projects and maintainers that it's not a hassle, it's worth it. And it's how we're going to extend the reach and get more external contributions to this project.
Totally agree, and my idea of that presentation was exactly that, right? To show the maintainers, hey, it's really worth it doing it. And I think my main learning here is we need to teach them more, because for me it was like, oh yeah, now we have this template and everything is clear and people just do it. And we've seen some people adopted it perfectly in totally different sub projects, sub repos, and others don't. And I think that is where we need to do more teaching. And the other thing that comes out, and that is what Sophie already wrote in the chat, is we need trainings, and trainings on the one hand to get more people, help us on good first issues to understand it more, and on the other hand to make newcomers not do always the same errors like missing signing, missing DCO. And my idea is, and I started already talking about it with some people, to do, like get a video podcast studio somewhere and do some really nice tutorial recordings on all those topics, like how to create a PR in Hiero, what is signing, what is the DCO, how to review a good first issue, how to create a good first issue. Having nice videos and all of that, from my point of view, would be a very good next step. Yeah.
So with the training, I think the video guides would be great. I did get very critical feedback, actually, saying that this was the hardest SDK ever contributed to. So I think the DCA things is something that not all projects do, and we don't only do that, right? So the bar to contributors are already quite high. The main thing that I would find really useful for the training is helping people understand what are the transaction files, what are the consensus files, how like when do you need them? Because there are some things that I would consider good first issues, but actually waiting for people to try them out and see what happens, even though I did like the descriptions and everything, what I found is that they would still get stuck because there's so many other files, there's so many other things that they may need to create a simple example. That's what I would personally need. Like we have a lot of new developers who may have developing skills, but not necessarily Hiero specific knowledge.
Yeah. Makes sense to me. Any other comments, thoughts on that? We are over time already, and the Hiero marketing community meeting has already started 4 minutes ago. So yeah, sure. I mean, Roger just said he would love to be part of it regarding the trainings, and I think that is, as always, like people who are interested in it will come together, find time and just do it like we did it with the good first issues thing too. So yeah, totally agree. Cool. So thank you all for being here, and see you in the next Hiero meetings then. Thanks. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.